So, howdy y'all. I hope you guys are all doing well. I hope you guys are safe and I hope you guys are healthy. My name is Josh and welcome to the channel. So today I'm bringing you guys a pretty straightforward video. It's going to be about my boot collection, showing you guys just about every boot that I own. And boots happen to be one of my absolute favorite pieces of clothing that you can buy. They can range from anywhere from super casual to all the way up to just super dressy and really nice. And at least price wise, they can be anywhere from like a couple of bucks at a thrift store all the way up to multiple thousands for designer pairs. And I'm going to show you guys boots from all over the spectrum. So making this video and, you know, kind of gathering all the boots, I was like, you know what actually defines a boot? What's the definition of it? So I actually looked it up, and on Merriam-Webster it defines a boot as a fitted covering as of leather or rubber usually for the foot that usually reaches above the ankle. I'm really not sure what order to kind of put these boots in, or like what order to show you guys, or how to categorize this video, but I'm gonna try my best to make it as organized as possible. Thinking about it a little bit more, I think the easiest way for me to show you guys like the spectrum of boots is going to be by price range. So I'll go from cheapest all the way to the most expensive. It's going to be kind of difficult for me to price some of these just because some of these are just brands that most people wouldn't know about, and I'm not quite sure about the pricing, but I'll just kind of try and show them accordingly. So by far the absolute cheapest way that I find boots is definitely vintage stores and thrift stores. Great way to find boots. Usually you'll find some really solid quality boots, more often than not military. And I will say, if you buy boots this way and you buy boots from a thrift store, vintage store, military store, you definitely need a whole lot of attention to the care of the boot, because sometimes the leather can be not in the greatest condition, and if that's the case, then you're gonna, if you want them to last a really long time, then I highly suggest that you kind of look into a little bit of like leather conditioning, and maybe you could just actually take it to your cobbler and have them condition it for you if you want to pay for it and you don't want to do it yourself. But that's neither here nor there. Vintage boots. I don't know if you guys are going to recognize this first one. This one is one that I actually made a video on where I take it to a cobbler and have it resold and conditioned. So this right here is going to be a 1960s combat boot, military combat boot. I love this boot. It looks great. It's kind of like the basis it's kind of my standard for a boot. If it doesn't look at least as good as this pair, I don't want it. And honestly, the leather quality is decent. It's not amazing, but for a mass-produced boot, this is great. If you are going to find a pair, definitely check eBay, vintage stores and whatnot, but I would be very careful. Sometimes the leather is super dehydrated and can crack on you. So keep that in mind when you're looking for a boot like this. I'm not sure of the original manufacturer of this boot. There's only so much I can tell because everything is worn out on the inside of the boot. So yeah, definitely needed a deep clean, conditioning, and replace the sole, and they are absolutely perfect. And they've been going great ever since I made that video, and I've been wearing them a whole bunch. So moving on to the next one. This is another military combat boot. This one is actually from the shoemaker Addison's. I believe that's the name of the shoemaker, but this is a more modern interpretation of a combat boot. This one I believe is from the 90s, and these are great. It has the kind of speed lacing system up front there, so taking them on and off is super fast. They're maybe not the most comfortable things in the world. I usually have to put insoles in them to make them bearable and I can walk around in them all day, which is kind of like the downside of boots, but the look is absolutely amazing. This one's another one that you can find for maybe like anywhere from, I would say, 40 to 100 bucks on eBay and vintage stores. This next boot is another, I don't know if you can call it a combat boot, but I would call it a chukka boot. This one is also actually from 1969, and this one is, I love this one. This one I actually found on eBay. This one was, I think it was $50, and the shape of it's really nice. It has a very bulbous toe, so it looks very, if pants kind of lay over it, it kind of looks like a really interesting looking derby. But yeah, nevertheless, another one that is super cheap, and I'm usually not a fan of chukkas. Chukkas usually go just above the ankle, and this pair, honestly, just for the shape, was just so good. So yeah, 1960s chukka boot. I'm actually surprised because I tried to find these on eBay and everywhere else as well, but there aren't very many places that have the Chukka version. Usually it's like the higher combat boot version. The next vintage combat boot I can show you, actually this is less of a combat boot, more of like a hiking style boot. This is from the company, the shoemaker is Herman, and the specific model is the Survivor boot. This one I got off eBay for maybe $65, and they originally came brown, and they came with a really torn up and beat up sole. So I went to the cobbler, had a Vibram sole installed, and then I had them just professionally dye the entire boot black. And also conditioned, of course. This is actually an insulated boot, so this is my boot for colder weather. I wore this when I was in Seattle and Portland when it was like pretty cold out there, and this did wonders. This boot is so very nice. You can see kind of the lacing system is, again, a speed lacing system, so it's very, very fast to take on and off, and up towards the top here are going to be just little speed hooks. So instead of lacing it through the actual eyelet, you can go ahead and just undo it really, really quickly. But yeah, the Herman Survivor boot with the Vibram sole on bottom. So far I've shown you a bunch of laced kind of combat style boots. The next one is going to be vintage laceless boots, which I love wearing laceless boots. I think it makes it a little bit more classy, a little bit more, not dressed up, but a little bit more clean looking in my opinion. And so I have this boot right here. This is a engineer boot. Now what originally got me into this type of boot was there's actually a pair of Visvim engineer boots that are absolutely beautiful, and like engineer style boots, and they're just so very expensive because they're just such a big product that they're like $multi-thousand. So instead I actually went online and found this pair. I believe this one is from Carolina boot maker, not 100% sure, but this boot right here is kind of my first foray and into engineer boots. They look really good, especially like, you know, a lot of people can be kind of turned off by this boot just because the shaft of the boot is gigantic. But if you wore kind of a straight leg boot and you kind of cut it off like right about there, essentially that's what the boot looks like when you have pants covering it. And this is a super, super, super good boot. Definitely super sturdy and just a great work boot, which is exactly what I was going for with this one. This one I found on eBay. This one was only like 40 bucks. And again, with a nice conditioning, a nice insole put in there for comfort, this boot has done me really, really well. Alright, and lastly is going to be the last vintage boot that I have, and this one isn't black. This one is actually kind of a more blonde color, blonde leather, more brownish tan leather. This boot is from a company called Iron Age. I know nothing about them, but they are a zipper boot. So the closure is just a zipper, and then it has the kind of front portions here that actually I can only imagine Saint Laurent took their Wyatt boot inspiration from, and this boot is absolutely amazing. I got this one also for $40 at a vintage store. Absolutely love this pair right here. It's really nice, really classy. No idea what year it's from. This boot right here, I think the big difference between this one and the previous ones that I've shown you are, as obviously there are no laces. This is a little bit dressier in my opinion, and instead of having a lug sole being this type of sole right here where they have like the tread pattern to make sure that you don't slip, this boot right here, as well as the engineer boot, has a heel. And yeah, there is a little bit of tread there, but it's not going to be as, you know, grippy as the combat soles. But Iron Age zip up boot, essentially. Love this pair. And this is probably one of the first pairs that I got that isn't black that I absolutely love wearing. The next boot that I wanted to show you guys is my go-to beater boot, one that is just one that I've had for years on years now, and they cost anywhere, I think they cost $160 if I'm not mistaken, $160 to $190 I suppose. This is probably my #1 suggestion when it comes to anybody who wants to try boots that really doesn't want to commit to it. Doc Martens 1490. I like the 1490. The original is the 1460, which is the 8 eyelet. This is the 10 eyelet. Just that extra bit of height gives it a little bit more of a combat boot feel to me, but this is the 1490 in a smooth leather. The leather at first, fair warning, if you're buying Doc Martens, good lord, the leather is so stiff, and it to the point where it causes blisters on your ankles. And after some time, and if you use some leather conditioner to kind of soften them up before you wear them, it'll help. But there is an indefinite difficult break-in period for these boots, and for any Doc Martens boot, honestly. And so yeah, the 1490, you've all seen them before. I'm sure you guys own a pair or have seen them all around. Definitely a really cool boot. Usually they come with a yellow stitching, but I just blackened that out with like a Sharpie or something, I don't quite remember. But this one also is pretty comfortable compared to other boots. This one has like completely rubber like outsole and sole, and so it feels very much like a sneaker. But there's not too much more I can say about this one. This one I think is a good kind of like good introduction to boots, like I said earlier, and definitely highly suggest. They don't last as long just because the rubber sole kind of wears down relatively quickly if you like put them through some pretty intense use, but pretty easily recognizable and just a really good boot all around. The next one is, I'm not 100% sure if this could be considered a boot, but this right here is going to be Clark's Wallaby. Mine is the Carhartt collab, that one, and really the only difference is that there's like a little bit of like the Carhartt canvas up top around the ankle. I don't know if it'll focus. There it is. It has the branding right there, and then it is water resistant suede, which is quite nice. Not quite necessary for where I live because I live in a very dry place, but this one will run you, I think, anywhere from like $100 to $200. Because mine's a collab pair, mine's a little bit different. But these are very easily and readily available. They come with a crepe sole. Now, I did want to talk about crepe soles. If you get a boot with a crepe sole, there are a lot of boots out there that have crepe soles, and these soles, while very comfortable, they don't last very long. The friction when you walk on the ground, especially if it's on concrete or rougher floors, this is a very, very soft rubber that will just eat away, and just, it's so not that durable. So I really only wear these when I know I'm going somewhere that isn't really abrasive, like in their floors, which is kind of annoying to have to consider, but it is very, very comfortable. They look great. A nice mock toe. I've been really getting into kind of like more square-toed shoes lately. But yeah, they come in a plethora of all different like colors, and really, my only gripe with Wallabies is the crepe sole. The look is quite nice, but the durability is just so not there. But it is a very good shoe, and it looks great on, like, if you were wearing like a shoe, or sorry, if you're wearing pants that kind of like slightly flared at the bottom and kind of pulled at the top, and it kind of looks like a moccasin right there. It looks very nice. It kind of reminds me of like a Visvim FBT, which I'll show you guys later, but yeah, Clark's Wallaby. Alright, the next boot that is in that kind of same price range-ish, like $100 to $200, somewhere in there, is this boot right here. And this one I got off of eBay, and it's from a brand I've never heard of before. It's from a brand called Alfredo Bannister. All I know is that it's made in Japan, and what really drew me to this boot, obviously, is the front zip right here. It has like a brass zip, which I'm not very pleased with. I'm probably gonna go to a cobbler and see if they can get that switched out for a silver zip. I got this because it very much reminds me of a Guidi 310 or 210, which I'm seriously on the hunt for, but every time one comes up, it's at least $1,000, and I'm like, I can't spend that right now. But yeah, it has a front toe cap, but there's no like steel toe or anything. It's just for decoration. It's actually just soft leather throughout. But the main draw for this boot was when you unzip it up front, you can actually put laces in. It comes with laces, and it's like 3 boots that are like engulfed by a zipper boot. It's really interesting. So obviously you have the tongue here, and then you have this first kind of like cloth layer, which feels really nice against your like ankle and foot. And then you have this other layer, which looks like the eyelets of like a combat boot. And then that final layer is just a thinner leather that just kind of encapsulates it all, and it honestly just looks so interesting. Even if you were to zip it up only halfway, you kind of get that kind of billowing out right here, which is really nice. It does have a lug sole. I got a 42. I don't know anything about Alfredo banister, so if you guys know anything at all, feel free to put it in the comments down below. And here is the branding and sole. But yeah, really happy with this purchase. I just need that zipper to be changed out for a silver one, and then I'm gonna be all over these. Now the next one, I actually wasn't sure if I wanted to include it here, but it definitely introduces a classification boot that I think is also very important that not too many people talk about. But this right here, I believe they costed me $200, and so just, you know, one step up in price bracket for the video. But this is the Hoka One One Tour Ultra High 2. Kind of a weird naming convention, but this is kind of like more so a sneaker boot or a technical boot. So definitely one of the most comfortable things that I've ever put on my feet. Hoka One One is definitely a brand that I use for like running shoes, as well as, you know, these like trail hiking boots are just so nice. There's very subtle branding, if you can kind of see the Hoka on the side of the foot. It is seriously so good, so comfortable. The tread is crazy. You know, you got a Vibram sole there as well. Yeah, there's not too much to say about it. There isn't too many features to it, but it definitely is a super, super cool shoe. I think my only gripe about this particular one is that Hoka shoes, like you can see how large that midsole is. It is such a chunky and fat shoe, but it makes my foot look really, really small. So if I actually wear like a pair of pants that like covers the top here and like kind of pulls a little bit more, it makes my foot look tiny in comparison to my pants. So wearing these can be a little bit difficult sometimes, but it is, you know, for comfort and functionality wise, absolutely amazing. All right, and next up is going to be another one that's actually, this one is actually kind of hard to price for me. I actually originally bought this as a substitute for my Guidi back zips, and this one right here, great shoe, looks really nice. The shape is beautiful. You can see the folding of the leather just looks really good. It's this very, very, very fine suede. The top has a little bit of a notch there. I went to the cobbler and had them put a Vibram sole to just kind of get that traction there, because before it was just leather, which I was slipping all over the place. This is from a brand that I have no idea how to pronounce the name of, but I got these for, I think it was $200 if I'm not mistaken, but great looking shoe. Obviously the back zip there, and then it's very reminiscent of Guidi, but I'll put the name of the brand on the screen right now. I just don't want to take my chance at butchering that name. It's just so weird, but it is a lesser known avant-garde brand, and I was able to get these on Grailed for a really cheap price. Their shoes are usually a little bit expensive, but this one I got lucky. All right, so we're kind of climbing up higher and higher in the price tags in these shoes, and this one is right here. Ooh, I love this shoe so very much. I'm not sure if some of you know, but Visvim happens to be one of my most favorite brands of all time. Hiroki Nakamura is one of my favorites. I would love to meet him. But this right here is the Visvim FBT. I have two pairs. I have another pair that I think I've shown in one of my videos in the past. Not 100% sure, but I don't even know if this is considered a like boot, but this is kind of like a very high-end moccasin, a very expensive moccasin, and this just looks so very good, and it's so very comfortable. So I definitely really highly suggest these if you have the money for it. Visvim FBTs, usually depending on what kind and what material they're made of, will range anywhere from like, I don't know, 500 on the secondhand market. I got extremely lucky with this pair, and the reason why I wanted to show this is because I actually got this on Depop for 50. Wait, hold on, I need to check this really quick. Yep, there you go. So I actually got these on Depop. I'll put a screenshot right now because I honestly, most people wouldn't believe it, but I got these for $55. And the reason is because when I first got them, the separation from the sole and the leather was actually like coming off, so the sole was getting just completely detached from the shoe. It wasn't in the greatest of shape, but I did go buy some cement glue and cemented it down, and now I have a Visvim FBT for $55. Maybe, you know, give or take $10 for the glue, but you know, I was very, very lucky to get this one, and I love this shoe so very much. All right, another boot that I've actually shown off on my channel before, this one right here, is the ground cover boot, pineapple leather boot. This is a great boot. My pair is still in a great condition. I don't wear them all that often. I kind of baby these because I'm afraid some people in the past with this particular iteration have run into problems with durability, but I haven't experienced any issues yet. But the creasing that ends up happening because of the pineapple leather is just so beautiful. The texture of the leather is amazing. They did come out with a different boot that is made of, I think it's cactus leather and then coffee ground soles, which is great. But the texture of this pineapple leather is so good. So this one is a combat boot that I treat that I kind of baby a little bit. But yeah, there's not too much to say about this because I know a lot of you have already seen them and I've talked about them before on a previous video. But ground cover 8-eye boot, absolutely beautiful. Those also retailed for like a pretty high price tag, like $450 if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong about that, but it was pretty up there. This next pair of boots, we're getting into the kind of pretty expensive boots, unfortunately, but yeah, the Yeezy 950. You know, I remember when these first came out, and at first I absolutely hated them. I thought they looked so dumb. They're just so chunky and ridiculous looking, but that was also when I was still wearing skinny jeans, so it wouldn't have paired very well at all. But this boot honestly has become one of my go-tos now. They're super, super durable. They're modeled after a duck boot, which you can kind of see from the 3 lines right there, and this upper is rubber, this is kind of a ballistic nylon, and this sole is just so very thick. These look really, really good. I was able to get these for, I think it was $450 as well. Definitely pretty expensive, and honestly they're kind of hard to find now because not a lot of people are kind of selling them right now, but I would very, very highly suggest this boot. Good Lord, am I such a big fan of these. I do have another pair that I think I've shown off in a previous video, the kind of like white pair, or I don't know what the color naming is anymore. I'm too far detached from that whole world, but this is just such a nice boot. Nice, functional, comfortable. You know, it kind of just ticks all the boxes for, you know, whatever you need in a boot. I did get a size that's a little too small. I have an 8.5. I probably needed a 9 or 9.5, but I kind of just took whatever I could because there's not very many people selling them for reasonable prices. All right, this next boot could also be considered like semi-combat boot, I don't know, like sneaker-ish, but this right here is going to be the Stone Island and Echo footwear collaboration. I got these in a vlog not too long ago, but I think these boots look super cool. Like, I had no idea what they were when I first walked into the store, and the associate had said, oh, these honestly aren't even on the website yet, like we just put them out today. And you know, maybe that was just a little bit of a ploy to get me to buy them. It worked, because I think these are just such a futuristic looking boot. It is just so cool. The leather on top is super, super thin. It has like a neoprene liner. It is a zipped front boot, but if you did want it to be a laced boot, that's fine too. You could actually just take the laces out and then lace them like a regular boot if you really wanted to, but it just looks so unique and is just so very, very nice. Here's the tread right here. There's the Echo branding and Stone Island branding. It did cost a pretty penny. I believe it was like after tax maybe $600, which was I don't regret it, no doubt. Kind of commemorates the whole trip, but yeah, very, very cool. I don't know if most people know about this, because I don't remember ever seeing them get a lot of attention, which is kind of unfortunate because these are great. All right, and these last three boots, man, by far the most expensive boots that I've ever purchased. However, they are some of my nicest pieces of clothing that I own. First up is the CCP Rap Boot. Good Lord. This was, I don't remember how much I paid. I think it was somewhere around maybe 6 to 7, but it is so beautiful. Here is the branding right here. The leather is a horse leather. It's super, super sturdy, super thick, kind of unforgiving a little bit uncomfortable. Here's the toe right there. It's in the color, I believe, 19, which is, you know, translates to their dark gray. I got a CCP size 7, and a CCP size 7 translates over to pretty much a 9, at least in my experience so far. It has this very interesting mechanism right here where all you do is undo this, and you can basically open up the shaft of the boot, and on the inside it is like a blue indigo, which is even cooler. This was like my first ever CCP purchase or footwear purchase, and this really got me hooked on, like, you know, buying more. You know, I can only say so much in a video, but honestly, once you see some of his some CCP items in hand and in person, and you wear them, it is so, I don't know, maybe it's just me overvaluing the item, but this is just such a beautiful boot, and whenever I wear it, I feel good about myself. It just makes me feel right, and to know that I saved up for something and was able to purchase something of this caliber is kind of maybe not the best financial choice in the world. However, I feel great when I wear these. They're so beautiful, and I do not regret it one bit. And the next boot is going to be from Guidi. I know a lot of you have seen a lot about Guidi lately. From my understanding, Guidi has been a leather tannery for over 100 years, and just that heritage alone is very impressive. But this shoe just is something special. I know it's become kind of a meme with, like, you know, the Unsound Rags team only wearing Guidi, but there's a reason for it. This is a horse leather Guidi 788V with the tank sole. So right here, it has a very interesting shape. So if the shoe's kind of like laying flat, the leather kind of is angled up diagonally, but when you put it on and wear it, it forces the shoe to actually kind of crease. So you can kind of see that front portion area, and it just adds so much texture to what is essentially a very, very plain shoe. Here's the bottom lug Vibram sole here. Obviously there's a back zip, silver. Right there is the Guidi branding, but I'm not sure if it's going to focus on it. But yeah, Guidi back zips. This is amazing. Unfortunately, the back zipper on my other side broke, and so it has a different zipper on it, but that's okay. I still, you know, wear them all the same. It functions well, but that's neither here nor there. This I spent a pretty penny on. I don't quite remember. Maybe it was like 6 to 7 again. Not too sure, but nowadays the Guidi back zips go for, oh gosh, like a ridiculous amount nowadays. And so I'm very lucky to have purchased them when I did. But yeah, these look super, super cool, especially like pants covering it. Or if I wear cropped pants and like it kind of cuts off right here, there's just so many great ways to wear this boot. And honestly, as I wear them and more creases develop, they just look so very, very good. All right, last, certainly not least, one of I've shown them off in a previous video. One of my most prized possessions, one of the coolest things that I own. Carroll Christian Pull Tornado zip boots, color 19, dark gray. Such beautiful scarring. It goes from a suede to this super scarred up horse leather. It's beautiful. Like, you know, you can see the zip right here that wraps around the back. I've had no issues with it. It is just a marvelous shoe. Vibram reinforced sole there, exposed shank on the bottom. I don't quite know what year mine is from, but I got a size 7. Works out for me great. Yeah. What more can I say? This is the coolest thing that I own. The most textured thing that I own. This is the most expensive thing that I own by far. The only thing more expensive would probably be my car, but yeah, you know, this shoe just kind of, it makes me proud to own this. This is one of my grail of all grails, and you know, I might buy more in the future, who knows. They look absolutely amazing on, and truly it is such a conversation starter when people just like look down and they're like, yo, like your shoe looks crazy, like what are you wearing? And for people who have never heard of it before, and to have the opportunity to explain what it is, what goes into it, to explain the price tag, it really is like a conversation starter in its own right. It is beautiful and one of my favorite things. I keep saying it over and over, but I can't get over how happy I am to own it. I think I've gathered about just about everything that I have as far as boots go. Yeah, everything's like predominantly black, gray, and you know, really simple for the most part, but honestly I'm just so stoked to have each and every one of them. I wear some more than others. I don't think that you need to spend ridiculous amounts of money to have a good boot. The vintage boots, honestly, I wear the most because I didn't spend a whole lot of money and I don't care very much to like mistreat the boot. And so my most worn are definitely the vintage combat boots. My least worn are absolutely these three. These three right here. Just because I feel like I want to baby them because I spent so much money on them, but at the same time, whenever I wear them, I'm always so like giddy and happy to go out. But you know, that's actually really interesting. I don't know if you guys get that same feeling whenever you wear something you're really proud to have. Does it actually make you more apt to like go out and like, you know, to me it makes me feel a little bit more outgoing in a weird way. But yeah, that's my boot collection. What do you guys think? Is there anything that I'm missing? Is there anything that you guys think I should buy? There are a lot of other things that I would really love in my collection, and you know, I'm working on it. This definitely isn't the end all be all. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate your time. I hope you guys are doing well out there. I know the world is crazy right now. I won't get into specifics, but you know, your boy has had a little bit of a hard time in the past couple of weeks, but happy to come out with a video for you guys. So thank you very much for watching. I appreciate you all, and I'll see you in the next video. Later.